Capricorn, how are we doing? Let's see. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I'm surrounded by plants. I've got my heater here. And I'm just trying to stay warm. Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? Where are you in the world? I'm in Florida. And I just don't like Florida cold. It doesn't make sense to me. There's no snow. I miss white Christmases. Boo-hoo, right? But maybe you're moving, maybe you're planning to move, and that's where you'll meet your person. Wow, we had the Empress popping out in a couple different, in both decks, in a couple different decks. La la la. It's so strange to shuffle this deck in particular when my hands are cold and the cards are cold. It's like I don't get as good of a shuffle. Pumpkin spice tea. And the Yogi fortune is, it is the light in the lantern which shows you the path, not the lantern. Maybe you have a Sagittarius placement, but that was basically the whole reading for Sagittarius. It was kind of like based around the inner light and doing the inner healing work, paternal issues. Okay, so we have the Emperor here. So this is for the masculine. We have the World. So again, yeah, there could be movement involved, but there could be moving. You know, the fixed signs. You could have a fixed sign placement. You could be dealing with a fixed sign. Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius. The Knight of Swords is... like I would travel the world for you. We have the Eight of Swords. This is like the damsel in distress, and then we have the Knight of Swords. It's like they're coming in to save. They're coming to like break the feminine free. The Emperor doesn't get out of his place very often. It's Aries energy, but the Emperor, and it's also Capricorn energy. The Emperor is Aries and Capricorn. But yeah, you could be dealing with an Aries. Have an Aries placement. I almost said Aries parent, but you could have an Aries parent or placement. But the way that these cards are out, the Knight of Swords is actually running in the opposite direction. So the feminine could be feeling sort of... I don't know, worried. Five of Swords, the Hanged Man, King of Wands, and the Ace of Cups. Yeah, maybe the Emperor's not, because the Emperor can be quite, it's not associated with fixed signs, but they can be quite fixed, right? I mean, they're a boss. They have control over their world. They can be very stubborn, unyielding, and all the while the feminine feels kind of like, okay, well, where are you? But we have the King of Wands and the Ace of Cups to clarify this situation here. Now the King of Wands could be a fire sign. That's the masculine. So maybe the feminine is more in their masculine energy, because I don't see the Empress out here. I've got this Ace of Cups over here with the Knight of Swords. So because the Knight of Swords is going in the opposite direction, maybe the feminine's like, I'll just do it myself. I'll just take care of myself. Now this could be the Emperor's way, right? Emperor's New Groove. This could be the Emperor's way of forcing, right? You know, with the twin flame journey, you may have come together or exchanged messages and met each other in the 3D. Because we have the Five of Swords here, which is like a disagreement, a difference of opinion. And it's clarifying the Emperor. So maybe the Emperor was like, maybe they met and the masculine was in like a pre-Emperor energy, or in that sort of very stubborn and fixed sort of nature that can be the Emperor. But the Emperor does not make moves for anybody else but the Empress. And so this could have been the way that the masculine pushed the feminine out of this pity party, out of this like, oh, I'm bound and distraught, I'm a damsel in distress. It's like, you need to save yourself, because that's what the Empress does. The Empress isn't waiting on anybody, right? They are content and satisfied. So this is more like pre-Empress energy. So it's like, I'm not going to save you. I'm not going to do it for you. You have to heal yourself. You have to do this work yourself. That is kind of like, and he's an Aries, Pedro Pascal. They call him Zaddy or Daddy or whatever. That is kind of like daddy energy. I do not say other than jokingly. I don't even like when kids call their dad daddy. I just the term daddy is, but in this, that's what I'm getting. Is it's like it is very paternal energy. So yeah, maybe this feminine has whichever one you relate to, but I feel like the feminine in this dynamic had some daddy issues, had some sort of you know, like paternal issues, abandonment, neglect, right? And so they never had anybody to lead them. They never had anyone to protect them. And so maybe they settled for, you know, I mean, that's what happens is we typically, until we break that cycle, we settle for the shadow aspects of our parents because that's what we know. And so it's like, this is a strong, independent, very self-sufficient, stable masculine, this Emperor. In the 3D, because masculine is 3D. So in the physical world, they've got their business, they've got their money, they're looking good, feeling good in the 3D. But I feel like maybe they were a little bit cold because we have the Five of Swords. So maybe there was like a coldness to what they said, or maybe they withdrew completely because they were, and this could be a misconception, right? I mean, there could be some truth there because I don't feel like an emperor is going to, it's not a false emperor, so he's not going to just like project a bunch of lies onto their partner or their prospective partner or those around them, right? This is someone who's stable. They've got they're the divine alchemist. They've got all the kings like at their leisure. But with the Five of Swords being here, it's like maybe they weren't that warm, right? Maybe they didn't, there could have been some warmth to what they said. Maybe, you know, they could have still encouraged the feminine to do this work without maybe being such a dick. Like, I feel like, because this is someone who's kind of like, haha, I was right. Like, yeah, maybe you were right, but maybe your approach was a little harsh, a little too sharp. just maybe, because we have the King of Wands here, and that's what the Emperor and the Empress do sometimes. Sometimes they put, they shift around like chess pieces, which king or queen is going to take the forefront, based on the situation, right? Like if you're doing something in business, maybe the King of Swords is who you put in the front, right? Because he's going to be very decisive and discerning, and he's going to say directly what needs to be said. Or if you have to tell somebody off, right? If you have to tell somebody, like, no. Sometimes the feminine has to put the Queen of Swords at the front, right? You gotta like cut people out to protect your Queen of Cups, your Queen of Wands, which the Queen of Wands, if you put the Queen of, if the Queen of Wands comes out front, like, you done pissed the Empress off. Because the Queen of Wands is that person who's like all that passion and anger and everything, like from years of being hurt. She has learned to wield that into a place of like very heated, but also not like erratic, very direct flame. It's like a flamethrower. You know, she's going to, you're going to feel burned if you like cross the Queen of Wands. But we have the King of Wands here, and the King of Wands, see, he's got these little kids around him. There could be kids involved, but I feel like this person is like, they're warmer, right? They have like a jovial playfulness to them. Now you are cardinal energy. You could be dealing with a fire sign, and you could be the feminine, and you're, you know, attracting someone who is coming in as the King of Wands. But if you're the masculine, the King of Wands, you are cardinal energy, which cardinal is fire. So you are cardinal earth. So this is someone who's like grounded, but in a way that's a little more playful. You know, what's that little flame in, it's not Scrooged, but it's the story of Scrooge with Jim Carrey, who is also a Capricorn, January 17th. But it's like the little flame that's like, hey, it's kind of creepy, but I feel like it's very, yeah, it's like a wispy little flame that he talks to. Is it called A Christmas Carol? Anyway, it's like the CGI. Just a second. Okay, I had to blow my nose. All right. So yeah, it's like somebody's coming in with a little bit more playful energy, because, you know, some people need to be nurtured into growth and not pushed into growth, you know? If that's you, you're not this isn't an employee, this is your person. Like, chill the fuck out. Be a little kinder here. Like if they feel this way, there's a good reason that this feminine feels bound by their circumstance. Now, that's not to condone people to stay in victimhood and to be, you know, in a pity party. We don't want to be there. That's not empowered. But again, that could be that King of Wands, maybe the feminine is in more of a masculine energy. Which is not going to put them in the Empress energy, because the Empress is the divine feminine. So it's like, you know, this Five of Swords is someone who, yeah, it's right, but they're like they're left with all the fallout. So it's like, maybe the masculine said something like, snap out of it, like grow up, you know. Maybe they just said something kind of like very heartless, right? Very cold, very direct, something you would say to an employee, because that's how the Emperor is. They are the boss, right? So it could have just been like very direct in that way, that the feminine's like, oh yeah? And maybe it was a fire sign, maybe it was the Queen of Wands, but she didn't do it in a nurturing way. She went into her masculine side and was like, fine, if you don't want to, and maybe it wasn't an exact conversation like, I need help, fuck you, I'm not helping you, but it was essentially, this was a cry for help. Whatever this behavior was, whatever these words were, whatever her demeanor, her actions, her behavior, this energy that she was in was a cry for help. And it's like, oh, you don't want to help me? Fine, I'll help myself. And this is now they've gotten to a hyper independent place. So now the masculine's like, oh, I kind of created a monster. Like, what have I done? So I feel like this is more about the masculine maybe needing to atone for being, kind of a dick. We have the Hanged Man with the World, so it's like maybe there was talk about coming together, moving in together, or like maybe there's a distance between the two, and so there was at least a consideration of coming together. And an Emperor is more like, an Emperor can be like, come to me. And maybe the feminine's like, an Empress receives, right? The feminine receives. So there may have been some sort of disagreement on like who's gonna move, right? Who's gonna uproot their life to make this work, right? And maybe the solution is that both of you uproot your life and move somewhere completely neutral. That's very specific, but that could be the case for somebody. But with the Hanged Man here, it's like all this person can do now is just watch and wait. Maybe Page of Swords energy, because this is kind of like immature, which the Page of Swords is. The Page of Swords isn't someone who's going to come in and speak directly. And an Emperor, the Emperor and the Empress are both in the twin flame journey, but they're pre-Emperor, pre-Empress until they come together in the divine union, and then they are truly in their power, because now it's like they've plugged into each other, so now it's like this very connected, abundant light source. So yeah, I'm looking at this Emperor like he's kind of like a king, like sort of, what is that, Game of Thrones or whatever, it's like he was born into this sort of place. Maybe he had more tools at his disposal. Maybe he had like healthy, happy parents, right? There's a little bit of like self-righteousness coming from this Emperor, where there's not a lot of understanding or empathy. Maybe they were someone who they just had, their path was a little bit easier. Usually with the divine union, there are both cycle breakers that are children of chaos. And chaos can look different for everybody. Maybe the masculine was raised wealthy, right? And so things were easier. It was easier for them to get to a boss-like energy in the 3D, because that takes money, that takes word of mouth and who you know and everything. But maybe they didn't come from a very warm house. Maybe it was all business and their parents were very cold with each other. Maybe they didn't hug a lot, So they could have, maybe it wasn't like obvious chaos, but it was something that was still very conditional. And that's what chaos is. It's the opposite of unconditional. Because unconditional is peace, right? And chaos is the opposite of peace, right? And so it's like maybe the feminine had just outright chaos that was very obvious. Maybe didn't come from money. Maybe came from, really struggling in the physical because of their daddy issues. Maybe they had just like maybe their dad was a gambler, maybe they didn't have a dad, so their abandonment issues and fear of being neglected or rejected, maybe that came from their upbringing that was more like obvious. Maybe they came from a loving family, but they didn't have the security of money or the 3D, the tangible comforts, right? So there could just be, they came from different forms of that. And so this person like just needs a hug. I feel like the feminine just needs a hug. Actually, they both need a hug, but it's like the masculine was so reluctant to go there because they're like, well, I'm up here on my throne because, and what I know is we don't do that. Like getting into the mushy gushy feelings of things just deters you or distracts you from the work that needs to be done. You guys are the workaholics of the zodiac. So, this person could just be a workaholic that's like, doesn't slow down and doesn't have that that nurturing quality instilled in them because they never had it. It wasn't represented to them growing up, but they know business. Like this person knows their business. They're very secure in the physical world, in the 3D, in their masculine energy. They're very, very masculine. But they need to have a little bit of feminine energy. Now this, however it happens, right? The twin flame, not all twin flames come in a divine union, but all divine unions are twin flames. So I feel like this twin flame journey, there was a disagreement. There was some sort of like confrontation or difference of worlds. Maybe you come from two different worlds, right? And that could also be with this as the feminine, as the hanged man. This is also like the damsel in distress. What is that? Well, I'm thinking of like 50 First Dates where Adam Sandler keeps like putting himself in situations where it's like, help me. But I feel like it's almost like kids when they're like, oh no, I'm drowning. Oh no, help me. Oh no. And they're like, Dad, come save me or whatever. It is like a cry for help. I feel like this feminine is very much like putting themselves in situations, unwittingly maybe, but just putting themselves in situations where it's like, oh no, where's my big strong emperor to come help me? And if you're the feminine, you might be like, that's not me. Then this isn't for you. But yeah, with this Ace of Cups here, it's like, all right, fine, they're not coming. Because once you get in this position of the Hanged Man, you see things differently. And so maybe they put themselves in a situation, energetically or something where they were like, well, now my person will have to come save me. But then when they were in that upside down, it's like the blood flow, the thought process, everything was different. Everything, it's like doing inversions to correct like an imbalance, redirect. Oh, I don't know. I can only see what I was talking about, but I can't put it into words just yet. But maybe just in this posture, in this position, the feminine started to see things differently and go, oh, well, since I'm here, I guess I can actually just take care of myself. I can just fill my own cup. So in the scenic route, it's still put the feminine into a place of self-nurturing and pre-empress energy. with the Ace of Cups, it still put them into a place where it's like, oh, I actually have everything I need, right? You know, if you're looking at those I Spy books, sometimes you don't see it, but if you change the perspective, then you can see the, you know, the golden cup that you couldn't find when it was in this direction. Now you flipped it over and you're like, oh, there's my golden cup. I see it. I have it. I've had it all along. And that's like the light within the lantern. It's within. Queen of Swords was popping out. So yeah, if the Emperor sent the King of Swords to deal with a Queen of Cups, because this is kind of like Queen of Cups energy, could be dealing with a water sign. But the feminine is water and earth, right? And the masculine is fire and air, or swords, wands and swords. And so, you know, like when you break up out of a relationship, you kind of start acting like the person you broke up with, or that broke up with you. It's like it's like they dealt with you. So now, if you dealt with them as the masculine, if the masculine dealt with them as a King of Swords, it's like now the feminine has gotten to her Queen of Swords energy, which just makes it a little bit more difficult for the masculine to come in, right? But we have the Two of Cups here. I feel like it just feels so silly. It feels so silly. And maybe they're gonna realize that. You know, maybe the feminine, because they were in this sort of woe is me place. And that's in the Jim Carrey Christmas Carol movie too. He said, whoa, whoa, woe is me. And he's like crying. I don't know which ghost that is. But it's funny. And so it's like maybe the feminine just like needed to kind of like toughen up a little bit. I hate to say it, but I do feel like the masculine sitting in their power, it's like, oh, now we can talk. So I mean, if you're in the shadow aspects of the feminine, you're going to be hyper emotional, right? If you're in the shadow aspects of the masculine, you're going to be hyper intellectual, right? You're going to be in one extreme or the other. And so this feminine could have just been, you know, because they hadn't nurtured their own vessel, they hadn't gotten to a place where they were in their feminine power, in the light aspect of their feminine power. They could have just been maybe reactive. Maybe I don't want to say overreacted, but I think that maybe they reacted in a way that was just not listening. Like they needed to get into their Queen of Swords energy. You know, and birds of a feather flock together, so maybe this feminine was like surrounded by a bunch of low vibrational energy, and so they needed to get into their Queen of Swords to get like to disconnect from all of that and to cut those connections. That's what the Queen of Swords is there for. She's a very powerful step in becoming an empress, because that is the discernment of this doesn't serve me, this does. And getting into a place where you can receive offers. Her hand is out, but she has a sword. I'll receive the offers, but listen, like if I don't want it, I'm not going to take it. So yeah, there may have been something with the feminine that it actually like it helps her grow up, you know. And that's also like what is that, like the big fat Greek wedding, or maybe they come from a large family unit, but the family unit has such a limited, closed-minded way of living. They're very conditional. And again, that would be like maybe they grew up with a lot of hugs and a lot of affection and all of that, but there was not like any stability, but they were always like missing bills, or they had to move around a lot, or there was something about that. And so maybe with this whole discrepancy about the world and moving, maybe the feminine was kind of like, I can't leave my family, I can't, I gotta be here. And the masculine's like, yeah, but they're toxic. Like, they're all drunks, they aren't, they're all like in their shadow aspects. And they're not, this is very specific, but but I'm gonna go with it. Your family is just like a bunch of losers, right? Maybe they said something like that. Maybe they said something kind of directly saying like, I don't want to live near your family. I don't want your family to be around the kids that we have. Like, and that might sound kind of controlling, but I feel like I relate to this emperor in a way that's sort of like I understand where they're coming from, because often hopeful feminines, well, and masculines do it too, but particularly like women will stay behind in a family as a caretaker to heal, to fix them. They'll have that wounded bird thing, and really it's like the masculine pushed this feminine into realizing like, you just need to heal yourself. That's the only person you can heal. You can't do it for them. You can't fix them. You can only fix yourself. And through that process of shadow work, through reparenting ourselves, through being the healthy, balanced masculine and feminine for ourselves, mother and father for ourselves, we heal the inner child, the third section or third cornerstone of our Holy Trinity. It's the divine masculine, divine feminine, and the divine creation, right? So when we heal that inner child, then we suddenly we are able to heal. That's the only way that we can heal our parents and our ancestral lineage, is by healing the genetic makeup that they gave us. Like, everything that we inherited is from them. So by healing it in ourselves, that's the only way that we can shift and break that cycle. And so I do feel like this confrontation, however conditional or rude or abrasive it might have been, I mean, it leads to the Two of Cups. So it's like, you need to fill your own damn cup, honey. Like, and the feminine did. And so now the feminine has a cup to offer the masculine, right? Now see, I've never looked at this, but with the feminine and the masculine here, and see, the masculine is reaching over to her cup. And it's almost like I've got you. Like, I'll help you hold your cup now. And so, again, there may be a little bit of like an atonement or an apology coming in with this King of Wands, where the masculine is going to come in and say, like, Capricorn can be quite direct like that. And so if you're the masculine, you may have, with that Emperor, you could have said something in a way that, you kind of maybe didn't expect the feminine. I don't think the masculine expected the feminine to get out of their way. I think that they recognize you're not in your Empress energy, so I'm going to just kind of like talk to whomever comes my way, how I want to talk to them, and in this direct way. And I don't think that they fully expected this particular feminine to get it together. Maybe they misread the situation because of who they were surrounded by. Maybe they read them as the Queen of Swords, so they came to them like the King of Swords, but they're actually the Queen of Cups. They're actually quite feminine. So maybe because they were maybe because they came from like a poor upbringing or an upbringing that was unstable, they were very hyper independent, and maybe the feminine was in the more masculine energy. So that's how the Emperor chose to interact with them. But the feminine feels actually very sensitive. And so, yeah, maybe they reacted in a hypersensitive way, but that's because they needed some understanding. But I think that they're a tough read. This feminine is a tough read. And so I don't think that it's like the masculine was just being an outright asshole but I think that they just approached in the only way that they knew how, or the way that physically in the 3D and the masculine lens seemed right, but they weren't in their feelings, they weren't in their feminine energy enough to register the undertones of like how feminine and soft this individual is. So, this person could just be very guarded from their experiences. Maybe they've been, because when I first looked at this, I thought, oh, like, is he taking her cup? Greedy bastard. Like, that's how I think. But that's like that's revealing about me, but, but as the feminine, maybe the feminine is worried that if they see how full my cup is, if they see how deep my vessel is, like, they'll take it, because that's what's happened in the past. And so maybe they were kind of they seemed more withdrawn or cold, or like they were very guarded. And so, yeah, the masculine was kind of like, well, two can do that dance, because I've got the King of Swords here. But they actually approach them like a Page of Swords, because a mature emperor, a true emperor in their emperor energy, also knows how to access their feminine, because the divine alchemist knows how to wield all the elements, all the modalities, and the masculine and feminine duality in all things. The magician is the grand alchemist. So a true emperor and a true empress are a grand alchemist. And so, yeah, there's a little bit of a pettiness or a childishness to this. There he is. Coming towards the feminine, the Knight of Cups. I feel like the masculine is going to atone. They're going to apologize. They're going to say, look, I didn't even know, and now I see your cup, and I'll help you hold this cup. Oh, that makes me... that's like... that makes me emotional. I always hate when the readers are like, I cried in this reading, but that makes me emotional for this feminine, because it's like they didn't realize, the masculine didn't realize that this was a cry for help. They didn't realize that they actually needed help, because the feminine has gotten very good at pretending that they've got it all together. They've got it all figured out. We've got the Three of Pentacles here, which is coming together in union and money. And the 3D, it's like coming together and working together. Working together. Yeah, maybe there was some selfishness, like, yeah, no, it has to be my way. This is everything that I work for is going to be separate because it's mine, and I'm not going to give you access to, if you want to have a joint checking account or not, that's up to you, but this is more like energetic joint checking account. It's like, oh, we can work together. You don't have to carry this burden all on your own. Like, I see the work that you've done. I actually get it now. The masculine gets it. They finally read, could be a Leo here. I'm getting a lot of, there's a lot of fire energy, cardinal energy. But the Knight of Cups there's a lot of masculinity here. And it's like the only feminine that is here is this little damsel, and this one holding this cup all by herself. And this is also, swords can be anxiety and sleepless nights. And this Ace of Cups, see how the moon is the only light that she has. It's like the feminine is doesn't really know how to, because of how ethereal and sort of angelic they are. It's like they don't know how to navigate this 3D world. They were never shown how to navigate this 3D world. Like maybe maybe they're not that good with like money or things like that. And so maybe that scared, maybe that scared the emperor, because they're very good with money. They're very good with the tangible 3D world, and they might be like, maybe they experienced feminines before that took that from them. And so it's definitely a lot of like projection and mirroring of fear here, which is the devil, which is Capricorn. So yeah, there is like that sort of like, the last relationship, maybe they were married, there could be kids involved, we've got the little kids there, but maybe the last thing they had was last relationship or connection that they were in, they took from them. I mean, that could go all the way back to childhood. Maybe they were like the eldest child and they were always loaning to their siblings, or like maybe their parents were taking money from them, like you think that level of like fascination with money that Aries and Capricorn, as the workaholic and the boss entrepreneur, and like, I'll do it on my own, damn it, and like I will be so good and I will have everything that I never had. So that whole like being poor, being like coming from money, maybe that's flipped. Like maybe that's flipped. And the masculine maybe like worked their way out of it, and so they could be in like a Four of Pentacles, very like hoarding of their material possessions because they have worked so hard for them, right? So it could be vice versa. There's a lot of mirroring here, but this Knight of Cups is coming in, so it's like the Knight of Swords is going the other way. This is a very this is someone who will keep coming back. Like they will keep coming back. They will cycle around. More Piscean energy. This is somebody who, because of this perspective, right? Because even if the feminine was knocked into this perspective, we're connected to our divine counterpart. So the work that we do is not just for us. It's for our parents, our ancestors, and it's for our divine counterpart. So we hold space and we shift the energy for the collective when we're together with them. So we are doing that work, preparing each other, ourselves and each other, for the work of shifting the collective energy. So it's like in this place, like you were both in this place. Even if one of you was in this place, it still gave the masculine a perspective of like, oh, I get it now. I see. I just had to flip the page. I just had to flip the book. And like reading a book, don't judge a book by its cover. I feel like there was a judgment. Somebody made a judgment and misjudged this feminine. I feel like the masculine misjudged this feminine, and through that misjudgment, when people misjudge you and they tell lies about you, we're rarely upset by lies, right? Rarely. Usually we're only upset by the truth. So there was some truth to this, I feel. Like if the feminine is not fully in their Empress energy, they're not going to attract an Emperor. They're going to attract Knights and Pages and this type of energy. So it needed to happen. The feminine needed to look at it and go, oh, well, I guess I'm not really showing that soft part of myself. Like, I need to represent that. If I want it mirrored back to me, if I want this Two of Cups, I needed to see that, like, I'm not, that's how others perceive me. We get the constructive criticism is like the best criticism, unless it's just sort of, but that's the difference between just criticizing and constructive criticism, of course. Like just being a hater or saying like, the sound on your video, I can't hear you, or I think it would be better if you did this angle, or, like if there were, like if you receive constructive criticism about the work that you're doing, it's helpful. and it can actually reach a wider audience. It can actually apply to people, which benefits those that you're putting. Maybe you're a content creator, but you know, maybe you're putting something out there, or some sort of, like with this entrepreneurship, maybe you have a sort of a product, but when you're dating or when you're like trying to attract love, you're the product. You're the product that you're trying to market and sell, right? And the best salesman is the one who believes in their product, right? And so it's like, versus the one who's just going to sell you a bunch of lies, you know? So it's usually the one that's been asked a lot of questions. Questions are good. Constructive criticism is good, because they want you to do better. They want you to be better. They like what you have going on, but it's like they see a capability in you that you didn't see in yourself. So that's like maybe more specific to like a project or some sort of creative process that you're launching. But it's worked. But that's maybe because the Emperor thinks that way. The Emperor thinks in business strategies, practical approaches to fixing things and creating solutions to problems, versus, oh, here are all my problems, but I don't have any solutions for them. Like, this is like a helplessness, feeling bound, feeling stuck, feeling incapable, disempowered. And so it goes back to that. Maybe they said it in a harsh way. Maybe they said it with an intention that was just like, maybe not with the intention that you would even necessarily change it, right? Because that's how truth speakers and truth seekers are. They just speak the truth and then they move along. Those who feel bound or are in this victim mode are those who don't speak the truth, or they might speak the truth over and over and over because their audience isn't fucking listening. They're trying to fix people and they might be speaking the truth, but it's like, get out of there. Like, whatever you're doing isn't working for the crowd. You need to get out of that space. You need to get away from those people. They're not listening. Speak to those who are actually listening. You know, market your product to those who are actually shopping for it versus those who are not. You know, so yeah, maybe it was like business advice, because with the Three of Pentacles, it is, maybe you two will actually join forces, and the feminine will bring a nurturing truth to the product, and the product could be your love. It could be creating a child together, a family together. It's all the same thing, right? Like our energy is mirrored in our work and our love life. It's how we are in love is how we are in work. How we are in work is how we are in love. So it's like this masculine and feminine need each other. They need each other. And this, whatever this confrontation was, whatever this butting of heads was, it's like, and maybe it was like that Aries and Capricorn, or I had Taurus in the I had 3 Taurus confirmations in the Sagittarius reading. But you know, when you get those horned beasts together, you know, it could be like very unyielding. But it needed to happen because it turned this Emperor into this Knight of Swords, into this Page of, or this Knight of Cups. Page of Cups is like an apology. So yeah, I do feel like there is an apology coming in. There's some sort of message of like, I was wrong. And I feel like the feminine is going to be like, well, you weren't completely wrong. I needed to hear it. And it actually, you know, saved me, helped me. Like, I saved myself because of what you said. So I think that there's going to be like a coming together and a recognition of how this issue actually benefited the individuals and the collective. and the connection and the collective. It will eventually benefit the collective, of course. Goodness, these cards are all clumped together because of the cold, I think. The static cling or something. King of Pentacles. Just seeing if there's anything else. Two of Cups. There's that Four of Pentacles. Yeah, I feel like there was some maybe monetary hoarding or energetic hoarding. Pentacles are also, you know, like, here, you can have a pentacle. Here, let me help you. I get that. Let me help you. Seven of Cups. Ten of Pentacles. Yeah, I mean, you guys are going to come in together and you're going to be a true power couple. I feel like the feminine is not, I don't have the Empress here. The feminine is very much in a pre-Empress energy, because I think that they don't necessarily have, they just don't have the tools for their pentacle world, their physical world. And Pentacles is earth. Pentacles are earth, which is also feminine. But Pentacles are 3D, which is masculine, right? So this is like the masculine and feminine coming together. After this coming together, this apology, it's like they're actually going to be able to power up and rule. I feel like they're going to rule the pentacle world. So the masculine needs the feminine needed the masculine. Like, they're going to come together and they have their tools and their toolbox and they're going to bring those together and build their empire together. You know, I think the masculine thought he had it all figured it out, He had it all figured out with his physical world. But there's something missing, right? There was something missing. He wasn't maybe passionate about his product. He didn't really believe in his product, but he was good at selling it. He was good at marketing. He put in the hours. He was maybe making the money. It was good enough, but it wasn't what it could be. It wasn't reaching, you know, all of the audiences that it needed to reach. You know, it's like someone, you could be like a spiritual guide or a yoga instructor, and it's like in the physical world, yeah, like if you're a masculine, especially in that world, in like this spiritual world, like you can make a lot of money and get a lot of attention just by being like a very attractive emperor that's talking about stuff in the spiritual healing universe, in that world. But there's something not quite divine about it until he's touched by an angel, which is this feminine. And the feminine was very hyper independent, like, oh, I'll just do it all myself. But they literally don't have the tools to build their empire by themselves. So I feel like they both had a misconception, like that they needed the other, that they needed something outside of themselves to truly ignite and release and to grow this flame, this inner flame that they have, this inner passion that they have, this inner knowing of how to influence and shift the collective. Like, their true power is not realized until they come together. And it's in the cups, it's in the emotion, it's in the love, it's in the expression, it's in the depth, right? So it was all maybe like superficial, and this is like they're coming together in the depth of it. And they're really sharing in that. I just love this. I've never seen that, like he's touching her cup. But the masculine is stronger than the feminine in the physical world, in like, you know, they are like better, faster, stronger. I can make it, do it better, faster, stronger. But it is like they're better, faster, stronger in the 3D. But because the feminine is better, slower, stronger in the 5D, in the emotional world, they've never been able to really unleash that, or reveal that. Unleash sounds a little a little aggressive, like I'm unleashing my love, but it's like they haven't been able to really reveal that side of them because their physical, tangible world was always too overpowering and too full of clutter and chaos, and they just never had the tools. They didn't have the means to do it by themselves. And so maybe they were acting out to get attention, to get help, but they needed to just ask for it, right? So yeah, I would love to, this feels very specific, this message and this connection, but if this is yours, I would love to hear, but I would love to know, you know, when and if this conversation happens, you know, your person's sign, any sort of like sign synchronicities or anything that could help the Capricorn collective, or cross watchers, because there is a lot of mirroring here. So I do feel like, which there are no double cards or anything like that, but I do feel this like this, it's like Pride and Prejudice, you know, like we're so similar. They were both so stubborn. That's what it is. It's Pride and Prejudice, you know. Yeah, that's it. And they're like, this is like her on the moors or wherever it is on that cliff, the breeze blowing. It's such a beautiful scene. All right, I wasn't gonna get a song for you guys, so I'll probably title this Pride and Prejudice, because yeah, that's exactly what it feels like. It's so you guys are so proud, and there was a prejudice, there was a judgment, a misjudgment, but you guys are actually so much more alike than you ever could have thought, and you need each other, and together you're going to rule in a way that is divine. It's not like you're going to boss people around and tell people what to do. You're going to lead them. You're going to guide them. The masculine leads, the feminine guides. You two are going to be so healing for the collective. And for all of the, you know, Capricorn gets such a bad rap because you're the devil, you know, and you're the devil. But the devil was an angel too. It was an angel first, right? And so it's, you know, this is going to be very angelic. This is going to be very healing. And there's a misconception about who both of you are. And yeah, I look forward to this clearing up. This, whatever this was, clearing up, because this feels like a very beautiful connection, and that the collective really needs. So, you know, yeah, share your situation if you feel called to do so. I'd love to hear about it, and I'm sure if anybody else is in this, in between in this connection, they need to hear about it too. So, but until next time, I wish you well.